John Craven from BevNet, and I'm here with our editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Kleiman. We're at the Winter Fancy Food Show here in San Francisco. And Jeff, here, you've had the honor of covering the food side of things at the show while we've been off doing beverages. Can you talk a little bit about what sort of trends you saw here?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think is very interesting is that we're seeing a lot of raw products migrate into stores that might once have been more gourmet-centric. And it's an interesting convergence of different food trends. So people still want to be able to get sweet treats, but they want them to have more bioavailable ingredients.
And as far as the products go, I mean, it seems like just from, we've been coming to these shows for a long time, the evolution of the products has kind of been rapidly advancing such that at this point there are some that are going after kind of just, pure health plays, offering things that are, vegan proteins or whatever it might be. And then there are others that are trying to really just, establish or create, real taste, but deliver that sort of raw type of thing. Maybe someone like a Hail Mary, for example. Do you see those as two sort of like diverging paths at this point?
I think they're really converging rather than diverging. You see a shortbread cookie being sold right next to an insect protein brand that's got gourmet hot sauce on it. One of my favorite converging trends here was a kale chip that's been prepared in bone broth. Now that's a lot of sort of natural, edgy food trend, but it's also the way a lot of people are eating right now. And stores are actually picking up a lot of this stuff. They're not huge categories, but they're bleeding edge.
And what about, you mentioned all chips a little bit. Chips have been something that have, obviously been, a big source of, or place where there's a lot of innovation. We're constantly seeing, different types of chips, It seemed like there were more of those this year, right?
So there are a lot of people trying to get some traction off of bean. We've seen some pretty interesting bean chips. Beanitos, as we all know, has done very well. But there are a few other brands who've also been really stepping into that space. The idea of plant-based protein and the idea of plant-based snacking is really important when you look at some of the deals that have been made for products like Vega or for even recently Rhythm Superfoods,
sure.
Where you started to hear plant-based attached to everything.
So switching to the other side of things, let's talk about meat a little bit. That's another place where there's been a lot of, product innovation. What sort of stuff did you see at the show here?
Well, so people are really into animal-based proteins and fats, and they're really changing the form factor that they get them in. Certainly at a fancy food show, you're always going to see your cured meats and your prosciuttos, but there's also jerky and extensions off of jerky. We saw one brand that's based off of an Indonesian snack food. The other side of the form factors that we saw our first K-cup bone broth.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Pure Indulgence. Fancy food show wouldn't be complete without Pure Indulgence, right?
Yeah, and one of the most exciting things that I think I saw was this real trend of super high-end ice cream sandwiches.
Mm-hmm. Lots of those.
So there's been a boomlet in gourmet ice creams, and this is another form factor that lets folks get it out there. So there's a company called Ruby Jewel out of Portland that's been around for about 11 years. In the past couple, they've really started to take off as they've gotten a grocery store ready, super thick, super indulgent ice cream sandwich. Then we're seeing Cool House really start to pick up their game a bit. Folks wanna have these things. They're almost, a lot of them seem to start at farmers markets and then shoot up the ranks as they can enter distribution.
Well, Ruby Jewel, I think, is one that, makes me think of one more question, which is about, packaging and branding. I mean, they've gone through a packaging transformation. There's another company, RX Bar, that, has been at some of our events, totally rebranded. What's your perception of, just packaging and branding challenges in the sort of food space, compared to beverage, where it seems like you kind of don't get a second chance often, but these companies seem like they're really breathing new life into their companies that way?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that you get at a fancy food show is a lot of these products are close to their base ingredients when they first come onto the scene. It's not too far from a farmer's market to the local gourmet shop. But as we've seen over the years, these brands will sort of transform themselves as they start to move into broader incubation channels, and then the SKUs really start to narrow down and they start to focus a lot as they move into more conventional grocery.
And that sort of necessitates like just a evolution of the product and packaging?
Evolution of product and packaging to meet scale, to meet investor expectations in a lot of cases. But it's exciting here because you see a lot of the kind of rough drafts of brands and trends that are going to come out in the future.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Stay tuned on ProjectNosh.com for more video coverage as well as interviews from the show. So thanks for watching.